Coming up on this week's episode, we're talking Chelsea, Villa, Arsenal and Tottenham, and we're also looking at what's gone wrong for Sheffield United this year. We've also got a quiz, a Who Am I, and some Wonders of White, so let's get started. Hello and welcome to a new episode of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Liam's here. Hello, Liam.
Hey, Chris. Friends again?
Yeah, friends again.
Friends again? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it only happens twice a year, twice a season, but the two teams played each other this weekend, and we needed something out of that game after last Tuesday. That was, appalling, I think, on all counts. But yeah, we'll go into that in a bit. I mean, Liverpool, we're not going to talk about them this week, but all but out of the title race now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately for them, yeah, they've. It all seems to have gone wrong for Klopp, doesn't it? He's arguing with everybody. They can't score.
Salah thing, yeah, it's not.
Yeah, not a good
I don't know. Yeah, not a great ending for him. But it looks like that they've chosen. Well, I know it's not confirmed, but Mr. Slot seems to be the preferred choice.
Yeah.
So he looks like the successor that's going to be there for Liverpool. And who knows about what's going to happen with Jurgen Klopp?
Yeah, I think
he says he's taking time out, isn't he? So he might. I would assume that he's probably going to take a season off and then take a job, probably in Germany, probably at Bayern Munich, or
probably will be eventually. But he did. Well, mind you, he loves Dortmund, doesn't he? So he might not.
Yeah, and he said he wouldn't manage anyone in the Premier League, would he? So,
yeah. I mean, Italy or Spain, then maybe.
I'm sure he's a top manager, isn't he? So I think he'll be all right for choices.
Yeah.
And he wants to return, and maybe he can even dip his hand in the England national team if he was, if he wanted to for a year. If he didn't want to take that year off, I always get the feeling that this is it for Southgate. Don't you think? I think whatever happens, I think
this is, either he wins the Euros in this year. It is this year, isn't it? Of course it is.
Yeah, we're not far off yet.
I think he either wins it and possibly decides to go out on a high, or we crash and burn and he's asked to step aside. Maybe if he did win it, he might decide to stay on, but
I think he'll go either way. I think he'll either end it there or...
He seems weird. He seems a bit...
He's been in charge for a long... When you think about it, he's done 2 World Cups? Has he done 2 World Cups?
Yeah. I think he has.
This is his second Euros as well, so... The thing is, like, who do you turn to once he's gone? I mean, I think even when he was picked to be England manager, I think there was probably a lot of raised eyebrows, wasn't there, over the choice? Because it's not like he had like a hugely successful managerial career, did he? So
he was sort of he stepped in because he was under 21 manager, and he's done it, but then he sort of kept winning games, didn't he? I suppose, but most England managers do in qualifiers. But then it was that World Cup performance, wasn't it, that got us to the semi-finals? And I think, but
I think he's definitely got us to, the better end of these, competitions.
Oh, yeah.
We've just, we should have won the Euros, 4 years ago. There's no doubt in my mind we should have won that game. And you'll look back on that as the game that, the tournament that he probably had his best chance at winning. But, and who knows what's going to happen in the summer. And I'm sure there'll be quite a few managers queuing for the job.
I think so. I think you're probably right. I think that the Southgate that started as England manager, he was quite an affable chap. He would talk to the media quite happily. There was a good vibe about him. And I think the last couple of years we've kind of seen negative Southgate. Everything's been a bit sour and just, I just think maybe the time has come. Maybe he's a bit fed up. But, we'll wait and see.
Nice.
We at the minute we seem to be coming into form for the major tournaments. I didn't expect us to get to the final of the Euros last time round, so you never know. You never know what happens this time. We've got a good generation of talent, so might come good.
Always have, really, haven't we? When you think about it, so we'll see. We're going to go into the game that happens Saturday night. Villa Chelsea. Not gonna lie, I wasn't feeling the most confident before the game, especially when I looked at the bench. Saw four names on there that had never been, part of the squad before. I was a bit surprised, trying to find out where everyone was, but yeah, I mean, well, it didn't start great, and I think I even messaged you at half-time saying, and I still stand by this, I still think that the style of play that Poch wants to play, I just don't think it suits these younger players, and I think that's where it's one of the biggest things for us is defending. We're terrible at defending at the moment, and I think it's just where we don't have a lot of experience at the back. We've got Thiago Silva, but other than that, we've still got quite young players at the back. But
they're relatively new to playing with each other as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
This year, yeah.
I just think second half was a completely different story. Villa did take their foot off the gas a little bit, and we did have a lot of the ball throughout the whole game. But it's finding a way to turn that possession into actually good, decent chances, which we do have a lot of each game.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't take them. But first half, Villa, I mean, they just with the possession that they had, it was just very strong. First goal was an own goal, but to be fair, you pressed literally from the word go, and we weren't sat back as much as we normally do, but we just kept getting caught out with silly passes. I mean, it's just the same story each game for us, but and then Rodgers got the second, didn't he, just before sort of half time?
Yeah, took it well.
It's a good goal, and and then it just clicked. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was just down to Villa were tired. I mean, they did look tired towards the end of the game, but you just felt like if Chelsea scored, it just felt like they could get something out of the game. I mean, it was a bit of a mess for you at the back for the first goal. Bit unlike you, really, isn't it, to be a bit sloppy at the back? I mean, I can't remember who won the ball back. Someone wins the ball back. It might have been Gallagher, with a bit of a push, and I would say there's not as much difference to the push that was towards the end of the game. But I think you looked tired, and we did well to play on that. Definitely started running at you more, and that was what was causing you, I think.
What always seems to cause us problems is teams that have got a bit of pace up front, not necessarily because of runners in behind. We play that really high line anyway, so we do catch people offside. But when we're in possession, if a team has got pace up front and they're pressing us high, sometimes, yes, we can break out. And I think in the first half, where we had probably a bit of fresher legs, we were playing through that press quite comfortably. And, that's where the Rodgers goal came from. So at the end of the first half. And then it never makes tiredness to be an excuse, but it's got to, we've played a lot of games this season. It's got to be a factor. We've got injuries, so players have played very regularly for us.
Yeah.
But I just think, we were 2-0 up, and I just think we got a little bit sloppy at the beginning of the second half, sorry. And then you got your tails up. I think you had a couple of chances that didn't quite go in at the start of the second half.
Yeah.
Your confidence kind of built from it a little bit. thought Madueke had a really good game, actually.
Yeah, in the last sort of, I mean, let's just discredit the Arsenal game completely from my mind. But even, before those last sort of 4 or 5 games, he's the one player who's looked like, other than Cole Palmer, as when he goes forward, he's going to do something for the team. I mean, the amount of times he gives the ball to Jackson and Jackson does something stupid with it. I mean, it's just mad. But he took the goal well, actually, Madueke, and
He did.
like you said, he is very fast. He's a very fast player, and 9 out of 10 times when I see him take a defender on, he normally manages to get round them.
Yeah. I think that for me, the difference between the first and second half for you guys. So in the first half, you did press us, but we kept breaking through it, and we were looking dangerous on the break, even though you had the possession.
Yeah.
I think in the second half, rather than just pressing forward, you really kept McGinn tightly marked by 2 players. In the first half, he had time to turn and he was picking passes and running forward. And then in the second half, you blocked that channel off really well.
Yeah.
Our main get out, if we're under pressure at the back, we kind of chip it into the middle and McGinn either gets the ball and turns and runs, or he challenges for the ball, probably commits a foul 9 times out of 10. But it stops an attack against you. And I thought you just did really well to block that channel off. And that was the main thing. I thought Gallagher had a great game because he was just doing that all game. And he was.
I mean, if he
as well.
I think. Wow, I think Cole Palmer will win Player of the Season for Chelsea, but I mean Gallagher won't be far behind. I mean, he's a different type of player to Cole Palmer completely. I mean, I've said it before. Gallagher will give 110% every game from minute 0 to minute 90.
Yep.
He don't stop. And he's the one player I think that when we aren't playing well, like against Arsenal, he's the one player who's still chasing after the ball when you're 5-0 down. And I mean, that's the type of character that I think that you want in that dressing room. And you can kind of see why he's the captain, at the moment with James and Chilwell both out.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine him in the dressing room, like really riling people up. Whereas I think when you look at some club captains, you think, might be a bit of a soft touch. Whereas I think with him coming through Chelsea as well, I think it probably means more to him as well.
Yeah.
And his goal, it was a really good goal. I mean, the goalkeeper was a bit off his line, but it was a well taken goal. And I think this season, when we've needed that vital goal, when it hasn't come from Cole Palmer, it's come from him.
Yeah.
He did against Palace, I think, towards the start of this year as well. He scored twice. And and obviously it turns out it's 2-2, and then they score a third.
Yeah, the incident.
I don't know.
I feel very happy to take a draw. Put it out. I watched it in live time. I thought that's a clear push, and then the ball went in. I thought the referee's going to blow, and then he never did. And I thought, well, VAR's got to have a look at this because that looked like a push to me. Then you see the replay and you see that both players have gone to push each.
He's backing into Badiashile, and then Badashile's kind of giving it back to him.
They're both, one's backed in and the other one has sort of pushed a little bit. I don't think it's enough to stop him from challenging for a header, personally. But I'll take it. I will take it.
Yeah, no, it's just, I think it would have really put the icing on the cake for us, I think, because I felt second half, I thought even without that goal, we could have scored a couple of more.
Post as well in the first.
So, yeah, I just wasn't sure. Like you said, like the more and more you see it, the more and more I was thinking it looks like Carlos is kind of backing into him, but then Badiashile is. I wouldn't say it's overly aggressive.
No, there's just.
And I personally didn't think it was enough to sort of rule the goal out. But I mean,
it's one of those that happens everywhere on the pitch.
Yeah, you don't know.
Sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. But really, every time the ball goes in the air, that kind of.
Yeah.
So
I think it just brings the sort of the clear and obvious conversation back into it. I just think if the referee hasn't seen it and he's right there, like literally right
he's
there
right in front of him. Yeah, he's got not obstructed in any way whatsoever. It's happening 5 feet in front of him.
Yeah, and I thought VAR was there to kind of sweep up the clear and obvious. So if the referee gives a foul, they then look at it and just say yes or no. Yeah, it just felt like that. He had looked at it, but it was the people in VAR that were saying that it was a foul. I'm thinking, if the referee hasn't given it, then he's surely the referee's interpretation is that it wasn't clear and obvious, and he felt that it was an okay challenge. But anyway, I said it and I say it again. I'd have taken a draw at the start of the game, especially after the 5-0 in midweek.
And you did promise me, Chris. You did say if you let us.
Now I have got. Now I can't take our end of the bargain.
Yeah, you got to hold up that end and beat Spurs for us, because you did promise me if we let you draw with you at Villa Park, then you would beat Spurs for us. So.
I did say that, and I will tell you this now. If we had finished that game on Saturday in the first half and say we'd lost 2-0, I'd not be confident whatsoever on Thursday. But I think the most frustrating thing is seeing us in the second half, knowing that we can play like that.
Yeah.
I think that's the most frustrating thing for a Chelsea fan, is knowing that they can play like that when they need to. And it's almost like they don't need to be losing for them to play like that.
Yeah.
That, they can just start the game like that. And we did it against Everton. We tore them apart for 90 minutes in that game. And I'm feeling a bit more confident on Thursday, and it's our game in hand, so we really do need to win it if we are to stand any chance of getting into Europe, because we're 9th, and we are 6 points behind United, who are 6th, so we really do need to win on Thursday to stand any chance, I think, of getting into Europe.
Yeah.
It does remind me of when Leicester won the league and we played Tottenham and they went 2-0 up and we ended up drawing 2-2, and then they just resorted to hacking us for the last 30 minutes of the game.
Well, I'm firmly in, Team Chelsea's camp on.
So you 7 points clear.
Yeah, but they've
got 2 games in hand, haven't they?
Yes, 2 games in hand now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we are, even if they win those 2 games, we are still 1 point ahead. But we have got Liverpool left to play, we just never do well against Liverpool. And then we've got.
The crazy thing is, you can still finish third.
we can technically still finish.
If you won all your if you won your last 3 games.
Yeah.
It's not
with 3 defeats in a row, then we could do it.
Yeah. I think you're set. I think you'll be all right. I think you'll be watching the Champions League theme tune at Villa Park in the new format, the new Champions League format, which we've both delved into on Football Manager, haven't we? And
we enjoy it.
I think we are in agreement that the new format does look pretty exciting, and it does give teams that are finishing 3rd and 4th in the normal format a really good chance of actually qualifying for the second round. So I think it's a good thing for everyone, and it'll be a lot more exciting, more games to play, but it means that you'll play a mixture of teams. And I think that's all to do with coefficient as well. I think it's said on because they're scrapping the normal draw now. I don't know if you saw, because apparently there's 947 different something like that, something crazy, different balls they would need or something to determine who's going to play who.
Yeah.
So no, it's and the format, I think it runs through the Europa and Conference League. So it does mean more teams are going to qualify for these tournaments as well.
Yeah.
So I think they're saying that the top 8 in the Premier League should qualify for European place this season. So
yeah,
I mean, so not a bad thing for Chelsea.
No, you're close to that.
We're just 1 point behind West Ham, but we do have 2 games in hand. So, and our goal difference is a lot better than theirs.
Yeah.
No, it's still a possibility. Well, I suppose we can talk about Tottenham now. The London derby. I mean, I did feel for Tottenham after 38 minutes. I certainly know how that feels to be 3-0 down against Arsenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, really annoyingly, they are such a good team at the moment, aren't they? To watch, to watch them play the way they play. It just looks so effortless for them at the moment, and it really does remind me of how Man City were, say, like 2-3 seasons ago when they were, coasting through the league.
Mm-hmm.
Because without a shadow of doubt, I think, they are the best team in the league to watch. They score loads of goals.
Yeah.
The way that they play is almost like watching them back in sort of 2003, 2004, 2005.
Yeah, and they're scoring all different types of goals as well. I mean, we saw set piece. I know there was an own goal, but we saw set piece goals. Recently we've seen those nice flowing attacking moves, and then there's the odd thunderbolt here and there from outside the box. They're spreading it around the team. I mean, back in their heyday for Arsenal, you knew Henry was going to be top scorer with somewhere around 25 goals a season. The goals for Arsenal can come from Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Rice. The centre-backs are getting involved quite a lot as well at the minute, which is quite good for my fantasy league team because I've got them both in. And Ben White's chipping in as well. They're an
Havertz.
Yeah,
Havertz. He's got 12 goals and 6 assists for Arsenal this season so far. His best tally at Chelsea was his second season where he scored 8 and assisted 3. So he's in his 3 seasons in the Premier League for Chelsea, he assisted 7, a combined 7 goals, and he's got 6 already for Arsenal this season.
Yeah, there you go.
But he did win the Champions League with Chelsea, and I'm not going to win that on Arsenal. So yeah, I just, it's just the way when you watch them, you kind of know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I think, if they miss out this season, I think it's, they've got every chance for with the team that they've got for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
In maybe winning the league.
Yeah. You look at
the team is fairly young. It's not exactly an old team, is it? So
you look at the key players. Saliba, early 20s. Saka, is he even 21 yet?
He is.
According to Wikipedia.
He was 2001. He was born.
Yeah, Odegaard, mid 20s. Martinelli, early 20s again, I think. Same as Saka, 22. Havertz is only 24 still. There's plenty of years left in that team. They could go on to become a real force. I think even Rice is only 25. He's probably been one of their best players this year. So, I think they are turning into serial contenders. Whereas I think a lot of people before, the first season that they challenged might have said this is a one season thing, but they've kept 4 of the squad together. They've added nicely to it. I just think all they're missing is just that striker that's going to get 20 goals a season. I don't think Arteta's got full faith in Gabriel Jesus. He's not a prolific goal scorer enough.
No.
So I think if they're going to improve anywhere, it would probably be for an out-and-out striker. Cause
I think they're probably just a striker often in the Premier League.
Yeah. again, I know he's had a bit of criticism recently, but Haaland is the difference for me. I think Haaland is why.
Yeah, if they had a Haaland in that team, they would have won the league this year.
Yeah. Which is easy to say.
And they've still got a good chance. They've still got a good chance of winning the league.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not going to win it, but
yeah, I mean, Guardiola's record at Spurs is atrocious. I don't think he's ever won an away game at Tottenham, or he hasn't for a long time. So there's a high possibility that Spurs could beat Man City, and then Arsenal are back in the driving seat. But yeah, it would have been made a lot easier, I think, if they had a out and out striker that would get them 20 goals a season.
Obviously,
I don't know who they would get. I mean, I don't know in this current climate. I don't know who they could buy.
They'd have to spend. I think it's the money side that they can have to get a Haaland. I mean, Man City, they were lucky to get him for the price that they got him at.
Yeah,
because if you think now, I think they paid what 65, around about 65 on it, 65 million for Haaland.
Yeah,
you'd be looking 100 plus, aren't you, for that sort of quality? But yeah, I'm sure they'll find someone. They do seem to, I mean, you look at players like Trossard, who, he was a good player at Brighton, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But he's certainly been elevated to a different level, I would say, at Arsenal. And maybe that's Arteta as a coach. He is good at getting the best out of his players. And, the only downside for them on Sunday was that second half, I think almost Tottenham kind of, a bit like Chelsea, they kind of clicked in a sense of they found ways to open Arsenal up a little bit. And they did become more vulnerable when, especially towards the end of the game, sort of the last 10 minutes, you almost felt like if Tottenham got a goal, they could go on and get a draw out of the game, and obviously Son scored the penalty, and then for the last sort of 10 minutes, including injury time, Tottenham were going guns a-blazing for them, but just didn't manage to get it over the line. But on a different day, it could have ended up 3-3.
Could have done. I mean, the offside was tight. It was tight. I think it was the right decision.
Yeah. I'm not happy with VAR at the moment, so I'm not. But yeah, again, it's going to be a good game on Thursday. I'm telling you, because if Chelsea play like they played second half and Tottenham play like they played second half, we could see an 8-8 draw there, because both defences are useless at the moment. So the one player I do like though for Tottenham is that Van de Ven, the defender.
Yeah, he's had a good season.
He looks really strong. He's got a lot of pace behind him as well. I think he's a good sign, and I think the goalkeeper as well for Tottenham.
Yeah,
he's made a few mistakes this season, but you'd have to say when I've seen him play, he's made some pretty good saves.
Yeah.
But I think with Tottenham now, I think they're going to have a big summer of sort of where do they go from here now, because I like Arsenal. I think Tottenham do have a striker in Richarlison, but I don't think he's going to give you the goals that they're going to need to push on. He's got 10 this season so far, but when you think about, I'm not comparing him to Harry Kane, I'm just saying Harry Kane was scoring 20 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to find someone to start making up the difference, I think. And Son's going to give you it. He's got 16 this season. I mean, I think if they lose him over the summer, I think then they are in trouble, because from what I understand, his contract's out next season, so 2025. So he's going to be in the last year of his contract next year.
Yeah.
He's 31, so he can still do a job somewhere. Especially if he's getting you 16 goals in the Premier League, I can imagine he's going to be quite high up on some people's lists.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got a good side, Tottenham. I don't particularly think that Timo Werner's they're going to make that a permanent thing. He's done okay, but
Yeah, I think they brought him in as a bit of a squad player, didn't they? I think,
he's no different to the Timo Werner I knew at Chelsea. So, and then you've got the likes of Maddison, Sarr, and Basuma. I mean, they're going to, a bit like Gallagher. They do give you 110% each game. Basuma, I like Basuma. I don't know what you think about him. I think
he's had a tough start. I think he obviously was on good form at Brighton.
Yeah.
Brought him in. I think he had a bit of a shaky start to his Spurs career, but probably, especially since Christmas, I think, he's been playing regularly. He's one of those players, he's never going to get a mention on Match of the Day, really, because the role that he does doesn't particularly add much going forward. And, if they're conceding 3 goals like they did against Arsenal, then it's probably not going to be mentioned from a defensive perspective. But he gets about, his work rate's good. He puts good tackles in. He just gets booked a lot, I think, which is, I guess it comes with a role. But yeah, I think I think he will turn into a good signing for them if they can build the midfield around him. That is, I think, Spurs' weak area has been the midfield for the last few years. And I think this year they have put a step forward, but I think Sarr has been a big part of that. I
like him as well.
Year, but yeah, he's not really had a break in the first team until this season.
No.
And he looks, he's a proper all-action box-to-box midfielder, which I think they've been missing for quite a while. So, yeah, if they can keep that sort of trio in the centre of midfield, then they'll put them in a good position for next year. But like you say, it's going to be tough for them. I think next year is going to be a big season for them. It's either going to be now is the time that we need to properly challenge further up.
Yeah.
I think, if they were to come 5th again, I think they'd see that as a bit of a failure. I think that they'll want to progress next year. So I think they do need some investment. The keeper's done well. I think their centre-back pairing is probably going to stay the same. But you're probably looking at, I don't know, Udogi's looked good in some games, and then in other games he's lost his temper a bit, or he's been a bit slightly inconsistent. But the games where he's looked good, he's looked really good. So they might stick with him, but I think they will be looking to add a few players next year. And like you say, with Son potentially going, yeah, they'll need attacking reinforcement as well. But everybody's going to be after that striker. Everybody's going to be trying to find a Haaland type. And, there's not many of them. That's what makes Haaland so good, I think. But, yeah, we'll see where the next one comes from, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Sheffield United. The first team confirmed to be going down.
Not really a surprise, is it?
And what a horrendous season they've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I look back and Chelsea drew them not too long ago 2-2, and I think, how on earth did we do that? But they, I say about how bad Chelsea's defence is. I mean, what are they on? No, I think they're on 97 goals now conceded. You'd have to say that that's going to definitely go above the 100.
Yeah.
It's just not happened for them this season. And, when did Wilder come back? Was it at the start of this year, or was it just before Christmas? I couldn't remember.
I think it was around Christmas. I'm going to Google. I can't remember. But it looked like the right thing to do at the time, didn't it? And it
definitely wasn't. Turns out it wasn't. I mean, they are just conceding for fun at the moment, and they are all but out. I mean, it's not like that they didn't really spend anything, did they? When you look back at players that they bought in, there's no one there. I mean, they bought that Brenton Diaz guy in on loan, didn't they? I mean, he hadn't really done anything, if I'm honest.
Right.
Mason Holgate in on loan. Nothing. I mean, he got sent off, didn't he, in like his first game?
Yeah.
I mean,
January wasn't good for them. I mean, they spent a bit in summer, but they were on mostly young players, I would say. I mean, they bought Archer from us. They bought, I think probably their two standout players have been Harmer and Vinicius Souza. I think they've probably come out of the season. They're one of few players that can come out with a bit of credit. And they were both signed in the summer. But again, they're sort of like the younger side of 20, I think. I'm not sure how old Harmer is actually.
Well, Harmer's 20, he's 26, but
yeah,
you got to say I can't see him wanting to stay around.
No, I can't. I think he'll get a decent move. But they signed Archer from us. I think there's a buyback clause in there if they got relegated, which I think by the looks of things will be taken up by Villa from the fans on Twitter are saying anyway. There was no one really that you thought, that's again, we've spoken about it before, an experienced Premier League player who's going to drag your team through a relegation battle. There wasn't really that much there unless they already thought it was in the squad already. But I don't really think so. It's not been a good year. They've conceded for fun, and when you concede an average of over 3 goals a game, you are not going to stay up, unfortunately. So, it's been long overdue, I think. And they've not really, sometimes if a team's conceding a lot, they're playing attacking football and they're trying to score. It hasn't really worked out that way. They've not really scored that many either. So, I think they've got a big rebuild in the summer for next season. And,
do you think that? I'm assuming that Wilder will stay.
They've sacked him once, haven't they? And I think probably the position that they were in wasn't looking good anyway. I mean, you can't say that it's solely down to him. It's not his fault that Sheffield United have gone down this year. They made a terrible start. He came in December, so you were right. It was just before Christmas. But they were already down, let's be honest, by that point. So, I think he might stay. If he gets a good start to next season and they're in the promotion chasers, then he'll probably stay on for the whole of next season. But I think he won't have long to
just
compete.
Yeah, I can't. To be honest with you, this is not going to sound really bad, but I don't see many players actually leaving.
No.
I think maybe Bogle. I think he has done quite well this season. Jayden Bogle. I think he could be one that maybe is snapped up. But to be honest with you, I think a lot of them are probably the standard of the championship. They've got a decent side, and they'll. I think if they manage to retain most of these players, I think they'll have a good chance of coming back up. But I mean, you've got to spend money these days, haven't you? Really, to have any chance of staying in the Premier League, and they just didn't, did they? So I vaguely remember at the start of the season them selling a couple of players on transfer deadline day, and I almost want to say that the man who was in charge of them didn't want to spend any more money. I kind of vaguely remember something, but
they sold Sander Berger, didn't they? And I think he was quite important for them. He went to Burnley, and like John Fleck as well went on a free. I'm just looking at their transfers. He's been there for a long time. Obviously, he was quite a big part of that squad when they were in the Premier League before.
Yeah.
So that Illiman and Dia as well. He scored quite a lot of goals for them in the Championship, and he went to Marseille. He's not really done much since by the looks of things, but he that was where most of the goals came from the year before. So quite surprising that he got sold with them getting promoted like they did. But yeah.
Okay, that's it for part 1. We'll be back in part 2 with some Wonders of White quiz and Who Am I? Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the 6th podcast, and we're going to go into some Wonders of White. So let me just have a little look. Okay, this was quite interesting. So despite trailing at the break, Nottingham Forest's XG of 1.27 is the most by any side in the first half of a game against Manchester City this season in all competitions.
They had some big chances.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So all 5 of the own goals scored in Premier League North London derbies have been by Tottenham players, and with all 5 of them coming in the first half, which is quite strange.
Nice.
So Armstrong in March 2000, and then Kevin Wimmer in 2016, Lloris 2023, Romero last year in 2023, and Højbjerg obviously on Sunday.
Yeah, recent, haven't they? It's only been quite recent that they've been scoring own goals.
Yeah, they scored one in 2000, and then the next one came in 2016.
Yeah.
So Harry Kane's brace at the weekend means he's now on 400 senior goals for club and country.
Fair play to him.
And last but not least, Michael Arteta has recorded his 100th victory for Arsenal in the Premier League in his 169th Premier League game for Arsenal, which is the 5th fewest of any manager upon reaching that milestone in the Premier League. And he actually did it 10 quicker than Arsene Wenger.
Wow.
But it took Wenger 179 games to get 100 league victories.
Okay. And he started off poorly, you know. A lot of people.
He almost got sacked.
Yeah.
He was on the verge of getting sacked. So, probably a wise choice not to have sacked him. And a bonus one for you: only Swindon Town have recorded 100 plus conceded goals in the Premier League. That was in 93-94.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's not recent. So yeah. Looks like Sheffield United might be breaking that record as well.
Yeah. It's not a record that you want to break, but
no. Okay, quiz time.
Quiz time. Now, this was quite a hastily put together one earlier this afternoon. So some of these questions are easier than others. I'll put it that way. But I think I'd say probably 8 out of 10 is a pretty good score on this one.
Okay.
So because it's so close at the top, this quiz is all about title races. And I use the term loosely. I basically mean it's a quiz about teams that finish near the top of the Premier League. Since the Premier League began, so it's only from 1992 for these. So, Are you ready, Chris?
Yeah.
Question number 1, very, very easy for you, but we can all remember where we were when Steven Gerrard slipped to let Chelsea score.
That was the anniversary or something I heard this weekend.
That's why I've included it, because I saw it. Who scored the goal for Chelsea?
God blimey. Yeah, well, it was Demba Ba.
It was Demba Ba. It was.
Yeah.
You are correct.
I tell you who scored the second one that day. It was Willian as well. But it was Torres. Torres got through on goal when he passed it. He should have scored. He didn't want to score at Anfield. Chelsea's.
Yeah, didn't want to rub it in to his former team. Right. Question number 2.
Yeah.
Complete the quote. We're still fighting for this title, but he's got to go to blank and get something. What is the blank word?
Still fighting for this title. Say it again. We're still
fighting for this title, but he's got to go to blank and get something. Just to give you a clue, he would love it if they beat them. That's where the quote is from.
Oh, blimey.
If you know that speech, well.
No, I can't remember it.
It's the Kevin Keegan speech.
It's Kevin Keegan, yeah.
Yeah. So the correct answer is Middlesbrough. He's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. the legendary Kevin Keegan speech that cost Newcastle the title in 1995. They didn't get that one, but that was one of the tougher ones. So, question number 3.
Yeah.
On the 24th of October 2004, Arsenal's 49-game unbeaten run came to an end, but what was reportedly thrown at Sir Alex Ferguson in the Old Trafford tunnel?
Oh my word.
It was very, very famous at the time.
Yeah. No, I just remember it was a pizza.
It was a pizza.
A pizza, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it was. And apparently Cesc Fabregas threw it. He admitted it, I'll say fairly recently, I think a couple of years.
Didn't they call it the Battle of the Buffet or something? From what I remember.
The Wikipedia page.
This is 2004. Yeah, I remember now.
The Wikipedia page is called The Battle of the Buffet, in brackets, Pizzagate.
Pizzagate.
So, yeah, it was a slice of pizza, or a full pizza, we don't know, thrown at Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, because this was I'm trying to think what... It always used to kick off against those two teams, didn't it?
Yeah, it was normally Keane and Vieira, but this time it was Fabregas, a pizza, and Alex Ferguson.
Battle of the Buffet, that's funny.
Question 4. So, Manchester United won the 95-96 Premier League despite being told they wouldn't win anything with kids by which match of the day pundit?
Alan Hansen, I knew that one.
Correct, it was indeed Alan Hansen who said it after Aston Villa beat them 3-1 at Villa Park. Won't win anything with kids, and then obviously went on to win absolutely everything with that exact set of kids. Couldn't have gone much worse for him, really. So this one, I'm going to give you the points if you can get, I'd say, 5 points either side. In 2017-2018, Manchester City won the league by the biggest margin in its history. How many points did they win the league by?
I'll give
either way.
5 either way.
Just to make it a little bit easier.
I'm going to say 15.
You're within 5. It was 19 points they won the league by that year.
Boring season that was.
Yeah, it was quite a dull one that year. We weren't in the Premier League that year as well, so even less, focus for me. Question number 6 is a 50-50 guess for you. Blackburn and Leicester have both won the Premier League and been relegated. But which team has collectively spent the most time outside the top division? Is it Blackburn or Leicester?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's since 1992. It's not the dawn of.
I have no idea. But I will say, I don't know, because I'm trying to think how long Leicester were out of the Premier League for, and then how long Blackburn were in it for. So I'll go with Leicester. I'll say Leicester.
Correct. It is indeed. Leicester have spent 15 seasons outside the top flight as of this season, and Blackburn 14. So it's very close.
Oh, well, closer than I thought then.
It was very close. So, speaking of Blackburn, they won the 94-95 Premier League title, but can you name their manager, top scorer, and captain? I will give you 1 point for each.
Oh, my word. What year was it? 95?
Yeah.
Oh my word, come on. So Kenny Dalglish was the manager, right?
He was indeed.
He definitely wasn't the top scorer.
He wasn't the top scorer, no.
I'm pretty sure Alan Shearer, he was the top scorer, right?
He was indeed.
I ain't got cows in chat. Oh my word. I wonder if, he wouldn't have been captain. Surely he wouldn't have been captain as well. I will just take a guess at I'll say Shearer. I don't think it is.
It's not. It's Tim
No.
Sherwood.
Oh shit! Oh right.
Tim Sherwood. So
I can't even remember him playing for. Tim Sherwood has won a Premier League title.
he has. He's captained the team to a Premier League title.
Yeah.
And the famous quote from the Blackburn owner was when they got offered to sign Zinedine Zidane, he said, "Why would we want Zidane? We've got Tim Sherwood." Which is
True.
Up, and
True, but
history hasn't looked kind.
I suppose David Batty would have been in that team then as well, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Have been around then.
Tim Flowers was in goal.
Yeah, it was decent side that season. Obviously, they won the league.
My football knowledge from sort of I would say 95 to 2002 is purely based on Panini stickers, by the way.
Absolutely. Which is the way it should be, right? Just the way it should be.
I could probably tell you shinies and stuff if you really wanted it. Yeah.
Right. Question number 8. So, Manchester United last won the title in 2012-2013. Who was their top scorer that season?
Van Persie.
Correct. It was Van Persie. I thought that was going to be difficult for you.
Because I remember they were it was awful. That season was awful. And they were awful, and they still won the league. And I remember Van Persie was top scorer.
Question number 9. Season 2000 to 2001 saw a surprise contender for the title. I'm using that term loosely because they ended up finishing 5th. They were then relegated the next season. Can you name them?
Ooh. I'm not sure, but my first initial instinct that is, I don't think this is right, and I'm torn between Charlton and Bolton, but I'm not sure. I'll say Charlton. I don't think that's right.
It is not, unfortunately. It was Ipswich Town who qualified for the UEFA Cup that season by finishing.
Damn.
They got promoted, finished 5th, and then relegated the next season. But obviously, they may come back up this season.
Come on, they're coming back. Sure, they're not going to throw this away now.
Yeah, it looks quite likely. So finally, I added this one in for a bit of fun, Chris, because I think you might remember it. It might give you a laugh. Finally, the 2011-2012 season saw only 3 teams qualify for the Champions League due to a 6th place Chelsea winning the competition.
Sorry about
that. Who finished 4th that season?
It was Tottenham.
It was indeed.
I'm not going to forget that one.
Yeah, I thought you might do. Yeah, correct. So well done. So you got 9 out of, I think it was actually out of 12 in the end. So yeah, pretty good that.
Yeah, well, I like ruining Tottenham's season, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I did originally have the question about the 2015 or 2016 title race. You know, it was Leicester and Spurs in a 2-horse race. I originally did ask what position Spurs finished that season, which was actually 3rd, which for a 2-horse race.
Yeah, I remember good. Any Tottenham would come 3rd in a 2-horse race. Yeah.
But I thought that was a bit too many.
And I'll always remember Hazard cupping his ears when he scored a goal. Yeah. And I just all the other things I remember is just the amount of fouls that Tottenham decided.
One of the worst.
Absolutely atrocious. I mean, talk about sore losers.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, several red cards in that one game alone.
Yeah. Okay, who am I?
Yeah.
Now, this person is still playing, so I cannot give you where they're playing right now, okay?
Okay.
And I'll go through it with you. Okay, so this player started at RS Football.
Nice.
And then signed for Juventude.
Right.
Before being bought by Porto.
Right.
Didn't play for the Porto first team, only played for the Porto B team.
Yeah.
and then was signed by Dynamo Moscow. He actually retired from football briefly before signing for Fluminense.
Right.
And then he signed for AC Milan and then PSG.
That's a very varied career.
And he is still currently playing at this team at the end.
So I didn't know he retired and then came back.
He did.
But I mean, I could pretty much take the first 5 teams out, but I'm thinking that the team he plays for now is Chelsea.
Maybe.
And is it Thiago Silva?
It is Thiago Silva.
I have a very faint memory of him playing for Fluminense, AC Milan, PSG, and then you guys. But I didn't know he retired. He's already retired.
So what happened? I didn't know this until I was actually looking at this. Is he signed for Dynamo Moscow, but never played for them because he contracted tuberculosis, and he was in hospital for 6 months.
Christ.
And they basically said it got really, really bad, and if he had not hospitalised himself 2 weeks, if he had hospitalised himself 2 weeks later, he could have died.
Oh, mate.
And he actually decided during his recovery that he was going to retire. And he retired. But then his mother told him to reconsider, and you listened to your mum, I guess. A good job he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he went and signed for Fluminense. He was actually still contracted to Dynamo Moscow. He went to Fluminense on loan. And and then I guess became the world class player that he was.
Yeah.
So he only came to Europe in 2009. That was when he signed for AC Milan.
Yeah. He'd spent quite a long time at PSG as well, and
204 games he played at PSG, scored 9 goals, and he's played 109 for Chelsea and scored 8 goals. But sadly, will probably only get to 111, 112 games for Chelsea because he's leaving at the end of the season. So and
to be fair,
he probably deserves to leave because I think what people forget is he's 39 years old.
Yeah. And he's still Brazil by the looks of things.
He's still playing for Brazil, and I would say that I think he's probably going to be at the Copa America, I think, for them, and I don't think he'll make the World Cup. But from what I understand, is he's going to continue to play, because his son is, I don't know if you know this, but his son's played for Chelsea as well. So
no, I did not.
Yeah. So so I think it's been decided that he's going to leave. I don't know whether he brought out a video today from the club saying that he got quite emotional in it, because I'll be honest with you, even at 39 years old, he's still our best defender.
Yeah, he has been.
So he's. I think he'll go back and play in Brazil. I think, but I don't know because I think his family are quite settled in England, so I don't know. But he said the door's always open for him to come back under, I guess, a coaching role. And I mean, if he says to you, "Can I coach your, the young defenders?" I don't think you're going to say no, are you? So, if he decides that's it, and he wants to become a coach, then hopefully he'll stay at Chelsea. But for now, it looks like he's going. But I did read an article not too long ago saying that he always wanted to end his career. Where he said, I think he's on about Fluminense, but that's actually not where he started his career. But I'm guessing that's where his career sort of kicked off. So
fair play. I mean, 113 appearances for Brazil, considering he only made his debut at 25.
He only got into the Brazil squad I think on his second season in Fluminense.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
he's had some career. I mean, he's won league titles. I mean, he won league titles for PSG for fun. I mean, even at Chelsea, he's won the Champions League. He's won the Super Cup, and the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
So I mean, probably just the league he's missing from there. But he hadn't won a Champions League until he come to Chelsea. So
it's true. Yeah, I mean, he's won several. I mean, he's won everything in France.
In fact, he'd not won any UEFA competition.
No, he had runner-up in the Champions League for PSG, but no, other than that. And he has won a Serie A as well. So
if you look at his Wikipedia page, the amount he won at PSG is just unbelievable. I mean, he's supposed to got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess is the equivalent to the FA Cup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the equivalent of a League Cup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 league titles. Yeah. And a Trophy de Champions, I assume, is the
Charity Shield.
Equivalent to the Charity Shield, which he won 5 times. So you're looking at almost 30 trophies he won at PSG. So yeah, I'm sad to see him leave.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess, at the end of the day, we can only say that maybe if we got him in 2008, he'd have had some career for us. So yeah. I mean, you've always got that one player in your team that you kind of feel that when they actually leave, you think, oh, that's quite sad, isn't it, that they're leaving? Just because he's been such a good player for us. So now they got to find someone to replace him. And I don't think they're going to find anyone straight away, especially with the position that we're in at the moment. But but we'll see.
I do have a story to end on, Chris.
Go for it.
I don't know whether you've seen it today. It's come out. So Port Vale were relegated this season, and the final home game of the season was this weekend, and somebody flew an aeroplane over the stadium mocking their relegation, and it incensed quite a lot of people, and they thought it was, the ban of a rival team. But it turns out it was their ex-player. It was, I think his name was Ryan Burge, and he decided he's passed his pilot's license.
Oh, right, and he decided to fly. Oh.
Yeah, former player of the year for Port Vale. But he was
live in the area.
I have no idea, but he was sacked from Port Vale because I think he missed a pre-team meal and then kicked up a bit of a fuss about it when he wasn't included in after he missed that. So then he got sacked because of some tweets that were sent, and obviously has hated them ever since. And he just
a disgruntled ex-employee.
Yeah. The opportunity to fly the plane at the stadium on their relegation. So it's quite a funny way to end this week's podcast.
Oh dear. Who have they got this weekend?
Next up for us, I think it's Brighton. I'm just going to double check.
They ain't anything to wash about at the moment.
Oh no! Well, so they've scored 1 goal in April, and it was an own goal for Burnley. So
how come we get mocked when we don't score a goal in a month, and everyone mocked us for our goal of the month competition? We couldn't have one because we didn't score a goal.
Brighton's is going to be equal.
We've got 2 home games, so we've got to play Tottenham on Thursday, and then we've got West Ham Sunday.
They'll be keeping a close eye on you on Thursday, but we've got the first leg of the semi-final.
What time's your kick-off?
We're 8:00 kick-off.
Ours is at 7:30, so you can watch that for half an hour, and then you can watch it at half-time as well.
Absolutely. So, big game for us in the week. And then I think if we can beat Brighton, I think we need 3 more points to make sure of 4th. Big game against Brighton. Then Olympiacos again, but then Liverpool. And we end the season at Palace, who have just hit form as well. So I'm expecting, Brighton to turn into prime Brazil at the weekend. Recently. And, Crystal Palace to hit form at the right time. So, you never know what will happen. But, I think one more win will do it.
Cool. Okay, that's it for this week's podcast. We will see you next week.